It's January 31st. I woke up this morning thinking, what am I going to share with my audience? So I scroll through Instagram. Truckers across Ottawa, truckers across America, truckers holding hands in solidarity fighting the good fight against what? I don't know. I didn't even read the articles, to be perfectly honest. I do know what it's about, but nah, it's not what I'm going to share with you today. So I scroll through the news. I got to find something good for my audience. My audience deserves this. So I really looked, I was scrolling, and I came across probably the number one thing that every news source is talking about is Joe Rogan. Well, Biden, but Joe Rogan and Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and now a bunch of other bands are holding hands in solidarity against Joe Rogan. So I was thinking, is that what I'm going to talk about? No, because I'd probably get pretty bent out of shape talking about how Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and all these other people share an industry and probably live on the same block as child sex traffickers, arsonists, murderers, rapists, Chris Brown who beats up his wife, all these people who abuse their children. They don't say a thing about any of these people on the same platforms. No, it's Joe Rogan spreading misinformation by allowing alternative viewpoints on a very controversial topic. Oh no, how dare he? So I was thinking, is that what I'm going to share? No. What I have to share is something less volatile. What is big, getting bigger, and by 2024 might be an $800 billion industry? The Metaverse. Yes, let's talk about the Metaverse. Smash that like button, comment below, subscribe to the channel. Please share this video out far and wide. That's the best thing you can do for the almighty algorithms. And then take this dose of infinity. Welcome back to Waking Infinity News. I'm your host, Ben Joseph Stewart, and thank you for bearing with me in that intro. I had to get that one out there. So, when it comes to the Metaverse, is it pure evil, like most people are saying? Is it the Matrix? Is it the seed or the dawn of the era of the Matrix that's going to remove us from nature and going to cause us to forget what social interactions are really about? Yes. I have to say that there is a yes in there, but paradoxically there's also a no in there because the future is unwritten, and while Kyle and Krystal and Infinite Waters, while they're talking about the unending dangers of the metaverse, maybe they haven't even heard some of the ideas that could be incredible with the metaverse, with the use of the metaverse. So I'm here not to push back against those people because I actually appreciate their takes on it, but I want to balance it so we're not just hearing only the negative. We could actually see a little bit of the diamond in the rough. So, Krystal and Kyle, let's go.
What are your thoughts and opinions on the metaverse and how this could go wrong for us?
I mean, the metaverse is so obviously horrific that I feel like, in a sense, all you need to do is explain to people what it is, this idea that we would be all interacting in a virtual world.
But you already are interacting in a virtual world. You're using a computer to speak remotely to other people. That's a virtual world.
I realized, in a way, the relationship between social media and social life, I think, is a bit like the relationship between porn and sex. I'm not anti-porn. Porn will meet a certain basic itch. But if your entire sex life consisted of looking at porn, you'd be going around kind of pissed off and grouchy all day because we didn't evolve to masturbate over screens. We evolved to actually have sex.
So here's where I agree and here's where I don't agree. If the only way in our foreseeable future to connect and to complete these primal urges like sex, hugs, face-to-face conversation, being really immersed in real nature, then yes, if that's the only way we're ever going to be able to scratch those itches, if you were, is through technology, then that would present a problem. However, we already live in this 2022 world where technology is really taking over. You could say now looks like the future if you were back in the 80s, like, oh, I don't believe it. And by that time, we must all be terrible, awful, fat people that can't get out of our chairs because we haven't moved because the internet and technology is just so seductive. That's not true. How many people use technology and then they get up, and they walk in nature. And then they hug people. And then if they want to, with consent, they actually make real love in the real world. I think the argument is getting a little bit flat and unidimensional, meaning the only thing that people who are against it are saying is it's tearing us away from nature, it's removing us from all of our connections, look at the terrible technology and the terrible direction that we're headed in. But we're not really getting down to the core of it. If we were more disciplined, which is something that you and only you and your agency says yes to or no, if we were more disciplined, then we would be able to, at a certain time of the evening, take a Faraday bag, put our phones in it, wrap it up, put it somewhere so you don't see it, and then sit down and play board games.
Today, we're going to talk about the metaverse, starting with the most important experience of all, connecting with people. Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. It has parts of your physical home recreated virtually, it has things that are only possible virtually, and it has an incredibly inspiring view of whatever you find most beautiful.
I don't believe you, Mark. Are you telling me that I'm gonna be able to breathe in that good-ass prana, baby? No. I don't want to go into a virtual reality world to pretend to breathe in that good-ass prana when I can do the real thing, Zuckerberg.
Infinite Waters, I really love you. However, there's two things I need to point out here, and one thing that I didn't show. So, three things. First thing is, your ability to breathe in good-ass prana is not diminished by the metaverse. Whether you think that you're going to be breathing digital air or not, you're not. Can you bring an Oculus Rift or a headset outside and be in virtual reality while you're breathing air, fresh air from the outdoors? Yes. It doesn't keep you from going into those territories. You put on the headset, you go outside, you breathe in that good-ass prana. If you don't have good-ass prana around, maybe get an air filter, get a couple house plants. Another thing, Mark Zuckerberg, he's not the owner of the metaverse. Now, he changed the name of Facebook to Meta because of so many people telling him what's on the horizon with this fully immersive spatial computing reality. And that is, people were already saying, coders and developers were saying, the metaverse, it's beyond this universe. Right? So he changed the name to Meta so he could, in a sense, capitalize on it.
This is where social media is heading in the metaverse, in Meta. And what I feel about this is that you have to be very careful because you want to ask yourself this question. Who owns the metaverse?
The metaverse is a concept of Web3. It's people-owned and people-powered, and also people-coded and developed and augmented reality spaces. A metaverse created and owned by the people itself. Now, will technocrats have influence over it? Sure, but they already have influence over a lot of things, especially in the digital world. But moving into Web3, it's changing. So, your good-ass prana is coming from the same source it always was. Don't worry about it. Metaverse is not messing that thing up. Zuckerberg doesn't own the metaverse. That's just a myth. It's fake news. And the real Web3 metaverse concept is actually something that's not forcing you to do it 24 hours a day and you're not going to be in some gelatinous mess like Neo from the Matrix. No. You can go in it, you can do some work, you can get paid for that work, and you can hop out of it. Are there some dangers? Abso-frickin-lutely. The same as there are dangers in the world around just about every corner, no matter what. Is technology a danger? Absolutely. However, you're already on your phone, probably 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. You're on your computer quite a lot. And you're in prone position because these things are sitting on a desk or in your hand and your neck is crouched over. Now imagine if some of our postural deficiencies from using this kind of technology too much is actually corrected with heads-up displays and, this Oculus Rift thing where you can look through it and you can see different aspects of reality. I'm not overly trying to, stroke off the whole metaverse and say it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I feel like it's very difficult for me to truly explain what it is that I see as the diamond in the rough in there. But I do believe that technology has the ability to point us back within, and the algorithms can find patterns within our behavior that no human potentially could. So none of this is detracting from your spiritual life. The fact that you have a phone does not mean you can't meditate. It doesn't mean you can't do breath work. It doesn't mean you can't do yoga or Tai Chi or some other kind of practices. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and hang out with people. That's the COVID scenario. The whole 6 feet apart, the whole don't congregate in groups, that's the COVID scenario. That's not the metaverse. So we need to get the language right. The data is being stolen by the old paradigm, the Web 2 paradigm. Web 3 is finding ways where you own all your data, you own your avatar, you own everything within it. It's completely different than social media where you don't even own your Facebook page or your Instagram page. It's owned by somebody else. Your likeness, all your pictures, they have the rights to it. That's not Web 3. So we need to get this through our mind. Now, last thing I'll say is Russell Brand was talking about how a lot of the metaverse, or at least a lot of religions now, are looking at making their congregations also in the metaverse. So you can go to church in the metaverse. And while that is, there's obviously something quite weird about that. But imagine if you think that float tanks and isolation and deprivation can be good for you. That's a technology to shut you off from the outside world. What if you could do that in a slightly more enhanced way with certain frequencies and you're not completely isolated, it's not pitch black, but you put on the headset and you're placed into an atmosphere that makes you feel far more relaxed. And then it coaches you, breathe, in, out, in, out. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Because technology is involved, is it just bad? Across the board, no matter what happens in that space, it's just bad because technology equals bad and it's connected to 5G and that's connected to Mark Zuckerberg? I don't think so. I think what we're actually talking about here is much of the marketplace will move into the metaverse. Imagine you want to do a breathwork session with somebody. You want to bring them into breathwork and show them that good-ass prana. What do? You can bring them into the metaverse and you can actually sit them down and they can look around at all those fake trees and you think that means absolutely nothing. But did you know hospital patients who have plastic plants in their hospital room showed lower signs of cortisol, the stress hormone within them, because of fake plastic trees? Is there nothing good about that? Like, yes, I would rather be in the jungle, but is there nothing good whatsoever about the technology itself? I pose this question to you because I can't help but feel like what the metaverse is a huge problem that is requiring engagement from people, not requiring us to ignore it because then it's just going to be left to the lowest common denominators to build it. And yes, then it will turn into the nightmare that everyone believes it would be. But if we can look past our current iteration thinking technology equals bad, and we can see that technology, we're already using it as much as we gripe about it and we hate it and we wish we didn't do it, but we can't stop swiping and it's not my fault, it's Zuckerberg's fault. If we can look past all that and start to see that it's all about what you do with what you've got, not about complaining about what you can't control and just sitting in that world where you get to blame other people for your malcontent with the world. But it's about building what you can with what's there and putting things in front of people to meet them where they're at, meeting them halfway. If we want people to wake up and their attention is already inside the metaverse, does that mean that every single space that they can enter that's been made by man has to be hideous, has to be soul destroying? It has to do something with your neurology that nature never intended? Because we make a lot of loud statements thinking that we know what evolution intends. We know what God's ultimate plan was, and it wasn't technology. How do I know? Most of us think it's just obvious that technology equals bad. So I think I've ranted long enough. I'm going to leave it there. Please go over to benjosephstewart.com. I'm going to start doing deeper dives on Tuesdays to make it easier for me, so I could also put in a little bit more production power into the deeper dives. And in this deeper dive, over with the exclusive content at benjosephstewart.com, I'm going to be talking about Joe Rogan's latest comments on the whole controversy with Neil Young and other artists. So tomorrow you'll get the deeper dive associated with this episode. Get involved in the Discord chat. That's where this conversation really starts popping off and becomes alive. And with that, I'll catch y'all next time on Waking Up.